All right, we are going to start with the axial skeleton and the bones of the skull. This is the occipital bone. This is the parietal bone, and it can be seen here and here and here and here. This is the frontal bone. This is the temporal bone. This is the sphenoid bone. And this small green bone is the ethmoid bone. And the ear ossicles are in the middle ear cavity, and that can be found inside of here. And you can't see these structures, but there's the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The malleus is distal to the incus and stapes. The incus is medial to the malleus and distal to the stapes. And the stapes is medial to both the malleus and incus. Okay, moving on to the facial bones. I'll start on this image. So the first one on the list is the mandible, which is here. That can also be seen here. The next is the maxilla. That is here. And the next one is the zygomatic. And that can be found, that's this bone here. And then the nasal bone is here. The lacrimal bone is this bone here. The palatine bone, there's a good view of it right there. It's right here. Next one is the vomer, and that can be seen right in, it's this bone here. And then the next one is the inferior nasal concha, and that is this structure right here. So now we're going to move on to markings, foramina, fissures, and landmarks. Okay, so the foramen magnum, that is right here. The lacrimal sulcus is, let's see, it's going to be seen here. It's a little hard, so it's a part, that's a part of the lacrimal bone, and it's this groove here on that bone. The next is the optic canal. That is this hole here. Then the foramen rotundum. That is, this is the foramen rotundum. Next is the foramen ovale, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and that is right in here. And the foramen rotundum, I thought it was a little hard to see, but it's another hole, and it's smaller, and it's in this area. Okay, moving on, the mental foramen. That is this down here, this small hole is the mental foramen. Next is the transverse process. That is on the spine. So I think down here is a good spot to look at it. And it's these sort of angular bones here. Let me pull up that list again. So that is the transverse process. Next is the sacral foramina. That can be found down here. It's actually, I thought it was hard to see from this perspective. It was easier to see in a posterior or anterior view, but it's these 4 small holes kind of down here on either side of the vertebra. And that is the sacral foramina. Okay, now we'll go to the frontal suture. And that will go back to the skull. So the frontal suture is also hard to see here, but it's right in the middle of the forehead on the frontal bone there. Then we have the squamous suture. That's this line here. Then there's the sagittal suture. That is this line up here. Then there's the lambdoid suture. That is this line here. Then there's the coronoid suture, and that is this line here. Okay, so now we're moving on to the spine. So we'll start here. So there's the 7 cervical vertebrae. Those are these vertebrae here. Then there's 12 thoracic vertebrae. Those are found here in this region. Then there's 5 lumbar vertebrae. That is down here. And then there's the sacrum, which is this. And those are 5 vertebrae that are fused together. And then the coccyx is it's the small tip down here. And that's 4 vertebrae that are also fused together. Now we'll go to the thorax, which is the chest. Go to this slide here. Okay, so first is the sternum, which is the breastbone, which is all of this is made of 3 bones that are fused together. The mandubrium, which is here. Then the body is here, and the xiphoid process is this part. Then there's 12 pairs of ribs, 1 through 12. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then it goes 10 is, I think, let's see, it's 10, 11, and 12. 1 through 7 are called true ribs, and 8 through 12 are called false ribs. Okay, it looks like that is it for the axial skeleton. Okay, so we'll move on to the appendicular skeleton. So we'll start with the shoulder. So let's go down. Ooh, I actually need to pull up another set of slides. Okay, here are the slides for the appendicular skeleton. Okay, starting with the shoulder, so we'll start with the clavicles. So that is the clavicle. There's 2 on either side. And then the scapula is the shoulder blades, and that is, it's in the back, but it's this bone here. Then the arms, so there's the humerus. This is the humerus, the upper arm. Okay, then there's the ulna. This is the ulna. And then the radius is right here. It's this bone. Okay, then there we'll go to the hands. So the carpus, which is the wrist down here, is made up of 8 small bones. And there's a better picture down here. Okay, so now we're going to look at these 8 small bones. So we'll start here. This one is the scaphoid, and then this is the lunate, and this one here is the triquetral, and then this one here is the hamate, right there, and then this one here is the capitate. This bone here is the trapezoid, and then the trapezium is right here. And those are those 8 small bones. Okay, and now the metacarpus, which is the palm, is made up of, well, there's 5 small bones, and they're called metacarpals. They're numbered 1 through 5 from the thumb to the little finger. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the phalanges, which are the fingers, so they're also numbered 1 through 5, just like the metacarpals. And each finger has 3 phalanges, a distal, middle, and proximal. So we have distal, middle, and proximal. Distal, middle, proximal, distal, middle, proximal, distal, middle, proximal. And the thumb only has distal and proximal. Actually, it's the other way, so it's distal, middle, proximal, distal, middle, proximal, distal, middle, proximal, distal, middle, proximal, distal, proximal. Okay, next we have, let's see, the pelvic girdle, which is the hips. So we'll move to a different image, this one here. So we're looking at the coxal bones. There's 3 fused bones. That's the ilium, ischium, and the pubis. Okay, so we have the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis here. Now we'll go to the legs. So we'll change slides. Okay, so there's the femur, which is right here, and then the tibia, it's the shin bone right here, and the fibula, which is this outer bone here. Okay, now we'll go to the feet. There we go. So the tarsus is made up of 7 tarsal bones, and the tarsus is the ankle. So we'll look at those bones. So this one here is the talus. This bone here is the calcaneus. This bone is the cuboid. This bone is the lateral cuneiform. This bone is the intermediate cuneiform. And this is the medial cuneiform. And this is the navicular. Okay, and then the metatarsus is formed of 5 metatarsal bones. Similar to the hand, they're numbered 1 through 5, beginning on the big toe. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the phalanges, which are the toes. So in the big toe, there's 2 phalanges here and here, and then all the other toes have 3 phalanges. Here, here, and here, 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 and here, 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 and here, and here, here, and here. And I believe that is the end of the appendicular skeleton.